I think there's been enough bad jokes for the last 2.5 minutes. Let's do this really quick tactical meeting. Not going to keep you guys too long. Let's do some PvP. So, basically, if you remember last time we had a meeting, we went through the roster and we did big VOD review of 4 or 5 of our wars, and basically we started now the coaching for each class, and we Instant and I will do some coaching for the bruisers, but we have an external bruiser as well, and he's been a player who played since the beginning in Bonsai Parabellum and now Mango Loco. He's been pretty good. He's a French guy, and we got put in touch with him by Thoram and Mumut. And basically there's a few things in terms of where we are in terms of composition and what we do, and you can see the top table in the screen that I'm sharing is what we worked on and what we were going to use to go into the next war. And there's a few things that this guy will touch upon specifically for the bruisers, but that training is tomorrow. So in the meantime, I thought I would go a little bit through the what's meta now, just so everybody can see. Some of you might be a bit more familiar with this, some less. So the one thing we did is we reduced the number of heavy bruisers to like 4 heavy bruisers from about 8 to 10 that we had before. We tried to increase the IGVGs. Now we have 6, up from 2. We reduced the number of fire mages, and we reduced the number of bows. Okay, so the meta that's being used mostly on all the EU servers now and in the top teams looks a bit like this. Okay, so the orangey kind of mango color, that's medium bruisers. Okay, so virtually they only have medium bruisers. Groups 6 and 7 are the tank groups. The only difference is that instead of 3 IGVGs, some people run sword and shield, or 1 or 2 sword and shields, and they might use 2 medium bruisers in both of those teams. Okay, and otherwise 2 medium bruisers in virtually all the other teams. The Dex teams 9 and 10 is pretty much what we're running, but you don't. Okay, I zoomed that. So groups 9 and 10, and there's some differences, and there's some important differences. It's not just okay, we're gonna switch on to medium bruisers, everybody, and that's it. So there's a few things. So the medium bruisers, the way the play style is very different. So I think there's a few mistakes, and you know the coaches will go through it in the bruiser section, but there's a few things when you combo, right? It used to be dodge, gravity, sundering shockwave, dodge, maelstrom. Okay, you might do the dodge before the sundering shockwave. You know that was the traditional combo. So now it's slightly different. People just basically walk into the clumps, so you don't dodge into the clump. Even if you run opal, you pre-pot. You always use your cleanse before you do anything else, and then your combos really depend on what's your setup, whether you're on the point or outside the point. But generally speaking, the first thing you do is you start to stack up your maulers, followed by something that resembles the alt combo. The reason why you don't dodge in is just so you can have the 3 dodges once your cleanse potion expires. But as you can see, they're running a lot of IGVGs. Okay, so they're running like, I don't know, 10, 11 IGVGs, so a lot more than we do. The grey ones, so like Nameless and Lip, those guys are more or less disruptor builds or Dex builds. Okay, so something that, for example, Instant is playing in OPRs, that kind of build. And then you have James Bailey and Esbab, those are just high DPS players, so usually fire BB. So you can see there's only 2 of those guys. The other major thing is what the hunter, or what the, yeah. Is it? Okay. So maybe he gave me the wrong information, but basically there's not a lot of fire mages right in this roster. The big important thing, and I'm not sure whether we do that, but in the hunter groups, virtually nobody runs light builds. Okay, so people run medium simply because they can put more pressure and they're less likely to die. And I don't know, Gummy Bear or anybody else who's playing in those groups, what are your thoughts on that, or what are we doing? Because I'm pretty sure we still have light players. Yeah, go. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I imagine Pesquito and Akron are like light players, like spears that just jump in and basically use their whatever skill is called to just drop the healers to the floor. It's the sweep. So that or javelin, right? That's the way he explained it. I think the reason why they're playing more mediums is simply because if they do get pressured by bows or people just turn on them, you know, they can survive a little bit rather than just wipe straight away. So I don't know. It's something I think we should think about, whether it's the right or wrong thing. I kind of think a mix is still better, but I think going full light is a bit. It's not a great idea in the current meta, right? So yeah, the last thing about the specific roster and the differences in what we were running and what the current meta is what people do in terms of killing, especially on the point. Okay, so at the moment the meta is detonate bombing meta, right? So which we kind of do, right? We try to coordinate our detonates, we hit it. The only difference is the meta is that the medium bruisers that are on the point, they're the best bruisers that whichever army has, and those players basically need to be very good to jump on the point, you know, in and out without basically getting killed, and they coordinate that detonate. But they use different kind of things, so they might use arcane damage on the ring. And when the respawn time has hit, virtually everybody who's on the point, and in some cases the whole army, they just call it out that they should use an arcane defensive potion. And that gives them a big advantage just not to get bombed on the point, especially inside the fort. So those might be things that we'll do in our next wars to see whether they will make a difference. I would imagine it would. And yeah, that's more or less in a nutshell. So we're going to review a little bit our roster. So the second table is really our where we're going to move at. Still haven't decided who's going to be in terms of bruisers in the point groups. I don't want to change the groups too much. So Frank and Savage have been playing in group 2, but Savage has played in 4 as well. So I kind of don't want to change it too much, but generally speaking, most of the groups will have 2 medium bruisers. The point groups, the third player will be a tanky player, so either an IGVG or a sword and shield. And all the other quadrant groups will have either high DPS such as Fire BB or some kind of Dex Sword and Shield kind of play, and we might put 2 IGVGs if we have enough in 1 or 2 groups. Not going to change too much the hunter groups. It would be great if Tammy could play something else just for the meta's sake, but somebody suggested that Scottish noobs would want to try musket as well, so we might just mix those. But generally speaking, I don't think many people run bows and muskets right now. On our servers, there still are people running pure bow and muskets builds. Yeah, go. Awful. Okay, so awful as in very good. Okay. Awfully good. Okay. Awful means really bad, right? so it's really strong. Okay. And what is group 9? What are those yellows? Interesting. So it might be something we might do in that case. We might rebuild one of the teams as a musket team. But yeah, do they run any fire in those groups? Pesquito, Akron, are those guys fires? I think those are Dex players, like Sword and Shield. Yeah. Yeah, they probably swapped out of that. Can't imagine they do. This is like a top company, right? There's not some random. Yeah, I think that's it for the tactical meeting, unless somebody has questions. The other thing to say is we're getting some tea baguettes. I don't know how many will join us and how many will merc just to help out, but they Jean Pet, I don't know if you guys noticed, he joined today. He's a pretty good bruiser / tank, and they want to collaborate a little bit more. I think they have some kind of internal drama or something, and we're not going to fuel the drama, but yeah, we're kind of working on filling the rest of the roster with good players. So just so everybody knows, that's where we are at the moment. We're going to continue with the coaching. So tomorrow it's going to be the bruiser one, and I think next week we're going to do one for the hunters. And Gummy, when is yours for the hunters? No date. Okay, so I'll have a look and I'll announce one. But there are dates. PJ asked for the healers to be later than Tuesday because he's away until Tuesday, and Gosh asked for a later one as well. Healers is Friday actually. And you know, if for specific classes we need external coaches, we'll bring some as well. For the bruisers, I think it's very useful just because everybody gets a very objective opinion from top players rather than sort of me repeating things and maybe I'm not 100% accurate in everything. and instant will help with that a lot as well. So yeah. Yeah, cool. So if there's no other questions, I think we're gonna call it